Here. Allocated fund.
This meeting will now come to order. Will the secretary please call the roll?
Director Kerr? Here. Director Garcia has asked to be excused. Director Gokul Gandhi? Present. Director Herndon?
Present.
Director Leonard?
Present.
Director O'Halloran? Here. Director Simpson? Present. Vice President Taylor?
In attendance.
President Peterson?
Present.
We have 8 members present.
Chair will now ask the secretary to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. The chair invites any members of the audience who wish to participate to do so and asks those who do not wish to participate, please remain silent during the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I will now read our land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that Milwaukee lies on traditional Menominee, Potawatomi, and Ho-Chunk homeland, along the southwest shores of Lake Michigan, part of North America's largest system of freshwater lakes. On this site, the Milwaukee, Menominee, and Connecticut rivers meet, and the people of Wisconsin's Menominee, Ojibwe, Ho-Chunk, Oneida, and Mohican sovereign nations remain present to this day. This meeting is being conducted in person from the Central Services Building. In order to allow as much public access and participation as possible, this meeting is also being broadcast via live stream on the MPS website and on the MPS YouTube stream, the links to which may be found on the MPS website on the broadcast page. Before we begin tonight's meeting, we have a short announcement regarding interpretation services for the Spanish-speaking members of our audience.
Buenas tardes y bienvenidos a la Junta Escolar de las Escuelas Públicas de Milwaukee. Si desea escuchar esta reunión en español, por favor llame al 312-626-6799. Nuevamente, 312-626-6799. E introduzca el número de reunión 608-130-5362. Nuevamente, el número de reunión es 608-130-5362. Gracias.
Gracias. Before we move to our agenda, the chair will ask that we share in a moment of silence to commemorate the passing of the following members of the MPS community: Keisha Caldwell, a student at Vincent High School. Susan Kelly is a retired teacher from Custer High School. Michelle Calbrun, a retired district-wide teacher. Jack Cola, a retired teacher from Morse Middle School. And Jean Colo, a retired teacher from Lloyd Street School. Joan Pieffer, a retired MPS employee. Claribel Rodriguez, a retired paraprofessional from Rogers Street Academy. And Jonathan Ticha, a teacher at Story School. A moment of silence, please. Thank you. Before we move to our agenda, I would like to remind the board and the public that in accordance with Board Rule 1.09, regular items of business, there will be no reports of standing committees this month. Instead, the board will give public hearing on the regular items of business to those registered in advance. For each of our items of business, we will hold a discussion and public hearing. Those who wish to speak on tonight's items were required to register to speak in advance of the start of the meeting. When you are called upon to speak, please state your name and spell your last name for the record. I ask those who are willing to speak, waiting to speak virtually, to remain on the platform until you are called upon to speak. After speaker's time is up, they may continue to follow the meeting at one of the broadcast options mentioned previously. For the sake of fairness and to give everyone a chance to speak, the chair reserves the right to limit the length of time allowed for any one speaker. Written testimony will be accepted for transmittal to the boards. Send this testimony to the Office of Board Governance, P.O. Box 2181, Milwaukee 53201, or fax to 414-475-8071, or email to governance@milwaukee.k12.wi.us. Just a reminder, Robert's Rules of Order dictates that all comments should be directed to the chair of the committee. Also, any questions or requests, including those from the public, committee members, or the administration, are to be directed toward the chair, who will determine the most efficient way to address them. Please be respectful of the democratic process adhered to by the board. For the safety of all and to ensure the good order of the meeting, harassment or intimidation tactics of any kind will not be tolerated. Anyone who continues to yell or disrupt the meeting will be told to leave and will be escorted from the meeting and not allowed to return. Anyone ejected from the meeting may continue to listen to the meeting or access the agenda items online. Individuals in the audience holding signs must be seated, and signs must be held in a way that does not obstruct the view of other audience members. Signs that are left on chairs or on the floor will be picked up by the safeties. People should not walk back and forth with a sign inside the auditorium. People may pick it outside of the building on the sidewalk. Also, no one other than members of the board, designated staff, or those who have been invited to present or participate in items of business will be allowed on the stage before, during, or after meetings of the board and its committees. Also, for a listening audience, if you wish to access this evening's agenda items and attachments online, you may do so by visiting the meeting's agenda and minutes page on the MPS website and choosing online agendas. Now, let us begin. Madam Secretary, what is our first item of business?
The first item on tonight's agenda is the awards and commendations. The first award is a proclamation in honor of Sequana Taylor, departing member of the Milwaukee Board of School Directors, for her years of service to the Milwaukee Public Schools. The recommendation is that the board waive Board Rule 1.10, Parent 1, and adopt the attached proclamation in recognition and appreciation of Director Taylor for her service to the Milwaukee Public Schools and to the city of Milwaukee.
At this time, the chair will accept the motion to waive Board Rule 1.101 and adopt the attached proclamation in recognition and appreciation of Director Sequana Taylor for her service to the Milwaukee Public Schools and to the citizens of Milwaukee. Director Carr.
I approve of the recommendation.
Okay. Do we have a second for that motion? Director Gokul Gandhi.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Will the secretary please call the roll?
On the motion as read, Director Carr,
Aye.
Director Gokul Gandhi,
Aye.
Director Herndon,
Aye.
Director Leonard,
Aye.
Director O'Halloran,
Aye.
Director Simpson,
Aye.
Vice President Taylor,
Aye.
President Peterson.
Aye.
That's 8 ayes. The motion passes.
Madam Secretary, please read the proclamation.
Whereas Sequana Taylor was first elected to the Milwaukee Board of School Directors in 2019 and served as chair of the board's Committee on Parent and Community Engagement in the years 2020 and 2021, and vice president of the board for the 2021 board year. Whereas Sequana Taylor encouraged the board to call on activists, public officials, and community stakeholders to collaborate on a regional plan to enact equitable, pro-desegregation, and pro-reparation policies throughout metropolitan Milwaukee. Whereas Sequana Taylor advocated for the dismantling of the pipeline to prison by urging the One Milwaukee initiative to include factors that contribute to the school to prison pipeline in their consideration, and advocated to discontinue the use of police officers serving as school resource officers in the schools. And Sequana Taylor promoted the formal recognition of the contributions of Mr. Caesar Stinson to the Milwaukee Public Schools community by sponsoring action to name the district's Student Learning Exchange Program in his honor. Whereas Sequana Taylor has been a constant champion for Milwaukee Public Schools and has worked to secure funding for additional hours to create more 40-hour paraprofessional positions and certified healthcare assistant positions in the schools. She sought to establish an onboarding program for the paraprofessionals in order to bring clarity to the role and a path for career development, and encourage the board to approve funding to offer interested parents, coordinators, 40-hour positions. And whereas Sequana Taylor consistently advocated for budgetary allocations that would benefit and support Milwaukee Public Schools students, including funding for school counselors, mental health services and interventions, an ethnic studies course in high schools or schools with a high school component, and in each grade level at the African American Immersion Middle School. Restoration of the cosmetology program at the Obama SCTE school in order to provide a trade option for students. Allocation of funding for a business planning and financial literacy telepresence course, strengthening and expansion of the Black and Latino male office. Establishment of a certified nursing assistant program for 4 MPS high school sites, and reallocation of nutrition funding in order to provide a fresh fruit and vegetable option every day in all schools, as well as a full salad portion for half of the high school population every day. Now, therefore, be it resolved that on this, the occasion of her retirement from the board, that the Milwaukee Board of School Directors extended sincere appreciation to Sequana Taylor for her years of dedicated service to the Milwaukee Public Schools, to its students, and to the public. And be it further resolved that this resolution be spread upon the permanent proceedings of the Milwaukee Board of School Directors, and that the board instruct the board clerk to have an engrossed copy of this document, suitably signed and sealed, prepared and delivered to Sequana Taylor in tribute to her record of dedicated public service to the city of Milwaukee and to the children of the Milwaukee Public Schools.
In addition to the proclamation by the board, the superintendent wishes to present Director Taylor with a piece of student artwork in appreciation of Director Taylor's service to the children of Milwaukee Public Schools. Dr. Posley and Director Taylor, would you please meet in the center of the stage so that the artwork can be presented?
Mr. President,
Yes.
members of the board, actually the student who actually created the artwork happens to be in the audience with us tonight, Kamira Smith. Could you please stand and be recognized? Dr. Posley has asked that she co-present the artwork to Vice President Taylor. Congratulations. Can we give Kamir Smith a round of applause? That was so nice. Congratulations.
Before we ask Director Taylor to say a few words, we have one more item to present to Director Taylor. Madam Secretary, will you please read the plaque from the Wisconsin Association of School Boards?
Mr. Chair, we do have a plaque, as Director Taylor actually served as the board's delegate to the Wisconsin Association of School Boards, the WASB, where there are 421 school districts represented. And it reads, Wisconsin Association of School Boards presents to Sequana Taylor for your dedicated service to the Milwaukee Public School Districts from April 2019 through April 2023.
Thank you. So bring it over. Director Taylor, do you have any comments you'd like to make?
But I'm gonna agree. As I sit here, I guess in what we consider my last board meeting, even before being on the board, I often tell people I'm NPS. I went to NPS, graduated from NPS. My babies went to NPS. I worked as an employee of NPS and then ran and got elected to the board. I don't know how much more NPS you get than that, right? Advocated locally, state, and national. And I often tell people, even though I'm leaving the board per se, I'm never leaving NPS. It's in my blood. I will continue to champion this district and for all of the enhancements we need and the challenges and the barriers we face. I absolutely know of the great things that happen. The people who care, the babies sometimes that people look at as another number are our individual babies who live within this city. And I know there's so much more work for NPS to do, but I hate when we neglect to tell the stories of that child that came to school just because he loved who his educator was, or to get a meal, or the person who works here who could have went and worked at corporate and made six figures but decided to stay because their heart was in NPS, or the school that was down the street, right? That was part of your community. And as I continue to advocate and go on, my ask today is for the community as a whole to stand with NPS. And that does not mean don't hold NPS accountable, but that means let's be accountable together, because everything that happens within the Milwaukee community is a direct result of what happens within our classrooms. And until we can address that, we are all doing a disservice. So I know a lot of times we look at NPS and say how we can be better. I want us to look at ourselves as an individual, as a parent, an auntie, a neighbor, a community member, or business owner, and ask how can we be better so that we can ensure NPS can be better. And to my colleagues, I miss you all. And even though I won't be here for every meeting, I definitely will be back for some. This is just part of who I am. This is my heritage. So I thank every constituent who voted for me, and even those who may have not voted for me, because I still became your elected representative. And while I know there were some things I could have enhanced myself on, I hope I did due diligence to serve you with honor, to advocate for you, and to be the very best that I could be, given some of the skills and tools and resources I had to work with. And so even though I don't want to say goodbye, and I'm not running again, so when I say see you later, I just don't even understand. This is basically see you later as I continue this journey. And definitely I'll take the words of Keith Posey and say I am NPS proud. And then Nelson Mandela. Education is the most powerful tool you can use to change the world. Let's remember that, and thank you all.
Thank you. Are there any board members who would like to make a comment? Dr. Simpson?
Well, I will just say that from the first time I met you when we were running for office together, you just impressed me with your big heart and the warmth that you exude for everybody, your compassion for others. the care that you take with everything that you do. Your voice and your representation will be missed on this board. I know I will see you in the future outside of the board, but I will definitely miss you so much as a peer on this floor and the work that we do. So you've done MPS proud all of your life with your work and your service. And I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for all of that.
Dr. Herndon.
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you. I don't know what to say because we've worked together for far too many years, advocating for MPS. And that is what we're elected to do, work and advocate for MPS. I'm gonna miss my partner over here. I'm gonna miss her an awful lot. I'll tell you one thing about her though. She never runs out of energy. She's like the Energizer Bunny. She's always out in the community. She's always working around here, doing her responsibilities as a board director. But you should see her in the community. That's when she's really fired up. And I'm gonna miss that, but I'm sure I'll be running into her around the community. Love you, love you, love you. Thank you.
Dr. Carr.
I just want to say that I so appreciate you in this space. You were one of the only ones that openly embraced me before I got to this space and offered mentorship, support, accountability, call-in, prayer calls, all of that. And I will definitely miss you and your spirit in this space. And I encourage you to continue to hold me accountable and mentor me and support me. But I will definitely miss your spirit in this space.
Any other comments? Okay. Oh, Dr. Posley.
President Peterson and members of the board, I just would be remiss if I didn't take this golden opportunity to have a few words. I first will start by saying our first encounter was through my wife. Children coming up saying, "Oh, my auntie," and said, "You're the uncle." I was like, "Who?" But the thing about it is that your children were in a school with my wife, and it's just been wonderful ever since we've met. And I just want to say that for your love of community and your love of people, it's just bar none. So I want to say thank you. My life has been changed because of sharing moments and times with you on this board and working together on causes that has made a difference in the lives of children in the city of Milwaukee. And also thanks to the idea today, we're recruiting in Africa because of your ideas around recruitment. And also you're all over the United States helping others. And that's what it's truly about. I couldn't even go to my home state, Mississippi, and you were there. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And you truly make all of us MPS proud.
Thank you, Dr. Posley. And I'll just add, we first met really at the MTA office many years ago when I was president and you were president. And we worked very closely together. And I got a snapshot there of how hard you work and how well you relate to people. And it's continued on. And thank you for your service. So thank you. Okay, Madam Secretary. Oh, yes, a round of applause. Madam Secretary, what's the next award?
The next award is a proclamation in honor of Director Robert Peterson, departing member of the Milwaukee Board of School Directors for his years of service to the Milwaukee Public Schools. The recommendation is that the board waive Board Rule 1.10, Parent 1, and adopt the attached proclamation in recognition and appreciation of Director Robert Peterson for his years of service to the Milwaukee Public Schools and to the city of Milwaukee.
At this time, I'll pass the gavel to Vice President Taylor.
So noted.
Okay. At this time, the chair will accept the motion to waive Board Rule 1.10, parentheses 1, and adopt the attached proclamation in recognition and in appreciation of Director Robert Bob Peterson for his service to the Milwaukee Public Schools and the citizens of Milwaukee. Motion. Director Carr.
I move approval of the item or the motion.
Thank you. Is there a second? Director Gokul seconds.
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Will the secretary please call the roll?
On the motion as read into the record to waive the board rule 1.01, parent 1, to adopt the proclamation, Director Carr,
Aye.
Director Gokul,
Aye.
Director Herndon,
Aye.
Director Leonard,
Aye.
Director O'Halloran,
Aye.
Director Simpson,
Aye.
Vice President, President Peterson,
Aye.
and Chair Taylor. Aye. That's 8 ayes. The motion passes.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, please read the proclamation.
Whereas Bob Peterson was first elected to the Milwaukee Board of School Directors in 2019 and has served as chair of the board's Committee on Strategic Planning and Budget for the 2019 and 2020 board years, and chair of the board's Committee on Legislation, Rules, and Policies for the 2021 and 2022 board years. Whereas Bob Peterson serves as the board's president for the 2021 and 2022 board years, and in these post-pandemic years, advanced the exploration of mandatory COVID testing for employees and thoughtful return to school guidelines. And whereas Bob Peterson led the fight to secure funding for schools that our students deserve, by which MPS won overwhelmingly support for the voters on a referendum that secured an additional $87 million in school funding. And whereas Bob Peterson sought to strengthen the Success Center concept by supporting its expansion to K-4 to third graders in order to provide additional supports for our youngest students with behavioral challenges. Whereas Bob Peterson championed the adoption of practices and standards for the shared leadership as an essential element of attracting and retaining high-quality administrators and teachers, and of intentional community building within the schools. Whereas Bob Peterson promoted the creation of an administrative policy on community schools in order to bring cohesiveness, equity, and accountability to all MPS community schools. And whereas Bob Peterson maintained the position that our house is on fire and proposed the integration of a climate justice curriculum and sustainability practices into all aspects of district functions, and work to establish the Climate Justice Curriculum Advisory Committee to lead the necessary work. And whereas Bob Peterson has been a tireless voice for equity and social justice within MPS and has advanced the belief that all eligible students should be registered to vote and be equipped to make informed decisions by proposing the development of a plan to increase student voter registration and participation, and sought to eliminate the disproportionality between and among schools with and without entry requirements through the establishment of a middle and high school equity work group, and advocated for the board to call on activists, elected officials, and stakeholders to work together to develop a regional plan to reduce school inequities and segregation throughout metropolitan Milwaukee, and encourage the board to adopt a land acknowledgement to ensure that the histories of the Wisconsin's First Nations are recognized and that their relationship to local lands is not forgotten. Now, therefore, be it resolved that on this, the occasion of his retirement from the board, the Milwaukee Board of School Directors extends its sincere appreciation to Bob Peterson for his years of dedicated service to the Milwaukee Public Schools, to its students, and to the public. And be it further resolved that this resolution be spread upon the permanent proceedings of the Board of School Directors, and that the board instruct the board clerk to have an engrossed copy of this document, suitably signed and sealed, prepared and delivered to Bob Peterson in tribute to his record of dedicated public service to the citizens of Milwaukee, and to the children of Milwaukee Public Schools.
In addition to the proclamation by the board, the superintendent wishes to present Director Robert Bob Peterson with a piece of student artwork in appreciation of Director Peterson's service to the children of Milwaukee Public Schools. Dr. Posey and Director Peterson, would you please meet in the center of the stage so that the artwork can be presented? Before we ask him to say a few words, we have one more item to present to Director Peterson. Madam Secretary, will you please read the plaque from the Wisconsin Association of School Boards?
The Wisconsin Association of School Boards, the WASB, presented a plaque to Robert E. Peterson. And this is for your dedicated service to the Milwaukee Public Schools from 2019 through 2023.
Thank you.
Director Peterson, do you have a few words?
Sure, I do. Just a few. As some of you know, I started as a paraprofessional in 1977, 46 years ago. And for most of the time, I was a fifth grade teacher. My wife says it permanently warped my sense of humor, hanging out with fifth grade boys. But I became president of the MTA the same year that Governor Walker dropped his bomb on public sector workers, drastically cut funding to public schools, and gerrymandered the state legislature. And our students still suffer from the consequences of those actions. That's one reason I ran for the school board, and one reason I and my colleagues pushed for the referendum that was mentioned before. That referendum allowed us to rebuild our art, music, physical education programs, increase the funding for the First Nation studies, ethnic studies, restorative practices, Black and brown male achievement and gender identity inclusion programs. Funds were also used to attract and retain staff as we established steps and lanes and raised employees' wages, although certainly not by enough. And unlike several of the surrounding suburbs or exurbs, we don't prohibit the word equity or pronouns in our district or LGBTQ+ flags. We have instituted anti-bias, anti-racist PD. We still need more. In this area, we have much to improve on. But we now read a land acknowledgement. We declared the second Monday of October Indigenous Peoples Day. The board defends the right of educators to teach students the history of institutionalized racism and other forms of oppression. Our young people deserve to hear the history from perspectives from people and other groups. You know, I'll just say that I feel positive about things. On the one hand, things are really difficult, obviously nationwide and statewide, but I feel positive because of the people who work in this district. You know, we have over 9,000 employees, nearly 70,000 students, and those employees make MPS, whether they're kitchen workers, whether they clean the school, whether they're paras or HCAs, teachers, principals, central office teachers, administrators, support staff, the superintendent. Thank you all. Thank you. You are amazing, and you have survived one of the most difficult school years in history. Between the pandemic and the shortage of staff, I'm just so happy for those of you who have continued to work and serve our children. I'll just say, we must understand that the future depends on us working together. We are the the people who stand and understand for the public schools as being a key element in a democratic society. And that's been under attack in the city for many years. And we continue to survive and thrive thanks to the hard work of our employees. I suggest two things as I leave. I could suggest a lot, but you want to get on with hearing other people. One is we really need to prioritize problem solving in a collaborative way, whether it's at the school level, department level, between us. The issue, we have had enough griping and whining. Let's really work together to try to problem solve and go forward. And the other thing, I like to quote the famous historical figure, Mother Jones, which she says, we need to pray for the dead, but fight like hell for the living. And I hope to see many of you on May 20th, March on Madison to demand funding for justice for our students. So thank you. This is an honor to have served all of you. I'm gonna miss you all.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you very much.
Any other board members would like to have a few words about President Peterson? Director Leonard.
So I just want to thank you. I've worked with you for decades, literally. And I remember the first time that I met you, where we really had something to really talk about was the night that the bomb was more or less dropped. But I have to say that I am going to miss you and Director Taylor. I believe, work well together. I appreciate working with you. I also want to add the fact that you also have created a legacy that will hopefully take off when we start looking at shared leadership throughout our system, which will also involve our parents and students and everyone else. But anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you, Director Leonard. Any other board members? Director Sings.
Yes, well, yes, I will miss you as well. My history with you goes back to days of the MTEA, where as a leader, you represented us well, led us through some very difficult times, always very level-headed, a lot of work behind the scenes. You're fair and smart and lead with not only your heart, but your head, and you've continued that in your role as a school board member and then also as the president. And I will miss your leadership that you provided in the district in both of those capacities. I want to thank you for always being willing to take phone calls and talk through situations that come up. I will miss your wise words of advice. So thank you very much for your leadership in our district.
Thank you, Director Simpson. Director Herndon.
What can I say? Bob and I have been on this road for well over a decade. I think I met him around 2008, 2009, when the mayoral takeover was just getting started, and I heard about it on the media and went to the NAACP, joined, and never stopped fighting since that point, with Bob always by my side to support, to help wherever, to march, whatever. So this is going to be a little weird, but it's been a pleasure being on the board together for sure, because we do have that history, and he has so much knowledge with the district, although I'm a grad and a parent of students that are grads and that type of thing. But it's another thing to work for the betterment of the community together. That's a whole different ball game. And this gentleman has been right there with us all these years. So you're going to be missed, but I know you aren't going far. And there certainly is always something for us to strive to make things better for Milwaukee Public Schools, the students, and the staff therein. So enjoy.
Thank you, Director Herndon. Director O'Halloran.
Thank you, and I'll just keep it really brief and address both of you. I just want to thank you both for your decades of service to Milwaukee and to the students of Milwaukee Public Schools. I, don't have the perspective of having served in the school, so I always appreciated the perspective that you all brought as educators and parent, always advocating for parent coordinators. And I just appreciate that. I always know you have MPS's heart. Like you will always stand for MPS. I never have to question where you stand about public schools. I never have to question where you stand for Milwaukee Public Schools. So I just appreciate that in your authenticity in your service, and you're kind of like round the clock, to Director Simpson's point, your unwavering support for our students, and your just I don't know, your relentless pursuit for justice for our kids. So thank you both. It's been a true pleasure to serve with you.
Thank you, Director O'Hara. Director Gopalkrishnan.
There's nothing that hasn't been said already, so I just also want to say thank you. Director Peterson, I remember I met you when I was a community schools coordinator, and you had organized the meeting here in Milwaukee, and I was just so appreciative that you had fought to make Milwaukee a hub for community schools. And Director Taylor, you know, when I got on the board, you were just so welcoming, and I still remember our first coffee where we just laughed and talked a lot about how we support a public school system. And I just really appreciate both of you as people, so you will be missed, and thank you so much for your service. Director Carr. I want to focus more on the service side, because what we all can agree on is that this is not easy. It takes a toll on us. It is a lot to be up for public scrutiny and everything. And so I just appreciate your willingness to put everything on the line and serve. So thank you for your service.
Thank you, Director Carr. Can we give a round of applause for Director Peterson? Oh, and Dr. This last wasn't least, I planned that.
Yeah.
She's
Vice
gonna give
President-
the final word.
President
Dr.
Ta-
Posey.
Vice President Taylor, members of the board, I want to start by using two of the most powerful words in the English language, and that is thank you. Thank you for being that champion for education. Also, just reminded of the referendum, the work that you put forward to support the referendum to make sure it happened. We have not had a successful referendum in over 25 years. And you put in the sweat equity to make sure that happens. And also with the events, we have a number, as board president, we went to a number of events. I could always count on President Peterson being there first. And I could always find him. I know where he's going to be. And just support along the way. And just a few weeks ago, we were out in Waukesha. We sat there all day long. And President Peterson was unwavering about making sure that he speak on behalf of children in this district and the needs of what children need in this district. Also, I close with a number of phone calls every single day, no matter when I call, night, evenings, he always answers. And he's very low key, don't get worked up, those kinds of things. So I close with, you truly make all of us MPS proud. Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
I know I got it, but before I turn it over, you spoke to how we started with MTA, and I can remember like us going, maybe it was Madison or somewhere else, and I had to speak. And when we got back, he was like, "You've been hiding from us all this time." And from then on out, you made sure that I was in like leadership trainings. I was at meetings. You helped me even when I ran for president, just there supporting me, letting me like feel my own and make that platform mine, supporting me as I support our ESPs within the district, and even coming onto the school board, just continuing to keep that line of communication open. Even though as president, you wanted to make sure as vice president that we stood together, whether we agreed or not agreed, that we were going to get the work done for our babies. And that's just who you are and who you always have been. I thank you for immersing yourself in certain areas and districts within our community where some other people that don't necessarily look like me or you would come to, but you came, and I thank you for that. And while, like I said, I know you won't be far, pretty sure you're on to the next big thing of what you're working on for MPS. So I'm sure we will bump into each other and see each other. Thank you for being who you are and helping others along the way. With that, I'll pass it back gladly. We got what's last.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, what is the next award?
The next award is the proclamation in honor of Mr. John Ashley, departing Executive Director of the Wisconsin Association of School Boards, the WASB, for his years of service to the Milwaukee Public Schools. The recommendation is that the board waive Board Rule 1.10, Parent 1, and adopt the attached proclamation in recognition and appreciation of Mr. Ashley's service to the Wisconsin Association of School Boards and to the Milwaukee Public Schools.
At this time, the chair will accept the motion to waive Board Rule 110-1, adopt the attached proclamation in recognition and appreciation of Mr. John Ashley for his service in the Wisconsin Association of School Boards and to the citizens of Milwaukee. Motion, Director Taylor,
I move approval of the motion.
Director Carr,
I second.
please, Secretary, call the roll.
On the motion as read by Director and motioned by Director Taylor, seconded by Director Carr. Director Carr.
Aye.
Director Gokul Gandhi.
Aye.
Director Herndon.
Aye.
Director Leonard.
Aye.
Director O'Halloran.
Aye.
Director Simpson.
Aye.
Vice President Taylor.
Aye.
President Peterson.
Aye.
That's 8 ayes. The motion passes.
Madam Secretary, please read the proclamation.
Whereas John Ashley was born and raised in Milwaukee, and whereas John Ashley graduated from Harvard College and did graduate and work at both Northwestern University and the University of Wisconsin-Madison. And whereas John Ashley was chosen by the Board of Directors of the Wisconsin Association of School Boards, the WASB, as their third executive director in 2005. And whereas John Ashley was instrumental in fostering trust among the school boards of Wisconsin, such that under his leadership, every one of the state's 421 school districts is a member of the Wisconsin Association of School Boards. Whereas John Ashley provided sound guidance to the Wisconsin school boards and was particularly instrumental in helping school boards navigate the changes imposed on collective bargaining as a result of the Wisconsin Act 10. And whereas John Ashley skillfully led the WASB through the unprecedented challenges that came as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic and was instrumental in guiding school boards through the necessary transitions. Whereas John Ashley remained committed to the belief that all children in Milwaukee and around the state deserve an education that helps them to meet their potential. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Milwaukee Board of School Directors congratulates John Ashley on his retirement as Executive Director of the Wisconsin Association of School Boards, and it extends its sincere appreciation to John Ashley for his 18 years of dedicated service to the member districts of the WASB. Further resolved that this resolution be spread upon the permanent proceedings of the Board of School Directors, and that the board instruct the board clerk to have an engrossed copy of this document suitably signed and sealed, prepared and delivered to John Ashley in tribute to his record of dedicated service to the Milwaukee Board of School Directors and to the school boards across Wisconsin.
Thank you. Mr. Ashley could not be here tonight. Director Taylor, as our delegate to the Wisconsin Association of School Boards, do you have a wish to say a few words about Mr. Ashley?
Absolutely. Thank you, Chair President Peterson. John Ashley, even though he's not here, one of the things I always remember about him is making sure to be inclusive of Milwaukee. As a representative on the WSB and going with other school boards throughout the state, Milwaukee often has to stand on our own legs as we continue to advocate for Milwaukee. But one thing about John Ashley, he made sure to include us, to make sure that my voice was heard, and also to come back and visit Milwaukee now that he's living in Madison. He always joked, and I know if he was here, he'll go, "I'm not the judge," because his brother is a judge here in Milwaukee, and people often hear the name and mix them up. But within his own rights, he can be an attorney with all of the knowledge that he has. I truly thank him for all of his years of service. Anyone knows that working within the educational field, especially with 421 school districts, is a lot. And I can definitely believe, if not 100%, 99.99% of all of the school districts appreciate and respect his work and the man and the character that he is. So if we can just give a round of applause for John Ashley and his dedication to our state. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President Taylor. Do any other board members wish to make comments? Okay, the board clerk will ensure that the plaque is signed, sealed, and suitable delivered to Mr. Ashley for his dedicated service to the Milwaukee Public Schools. Let's have one more round of applause for Mr. John Ashley. Madam Secretary, what's the next item of business?
The next item is action on the minutes of the March 2023 special and regular meetings of the Milwaukee Board of School Directors.
Do any members of the board have corrections of the minutes of March 2023? Seeing none, there being no corrections, the minutes are approved as presented. Madam Secretary, are there any reports or communications from the superintendent?
Yes, Mr. President, we do have one communication, and that communication is the monthly report with possible action from the Superintendent of Schools. This is an informational item, and although it has been noticed for possible action, no action is required.
Would the administration please present this report?
Good evening, President Peterson and members of the board. Keith Posley, Superintendent of Schools. April reports outline some of the district's highlights of the month. Each year, the Herb Cole Educational Foundation awards 100 public and private school students scholarship awards in the categories of excellence and innovation. Students receive an excellent scholarship award, demonstrates strengths in academics, motivation, and leadership, while students receive innovative scholarships awards demonstrate strong initiative in school and strong promise for college. This year, I'm honored to report that 9 MPS students received the Herb Cole Education Foundation's awards, with 5 students receiving the Excellence Awards and 4 receiving an Initiative Award. I am further honored to report that 9 MPS teachers received the Herb Cole Teacher Honoree Award and demonstrating leadership, service, and the ability to motivate and instill love and learning to students. And 1 MPS principal received the Herb Cole Principal Leadership Award. This award is given to principals that demonstrate in pursuits on unrealistic goals in their schools or professional development. I congratulate all of this year's MPS Herb Cole Educational Foundation Awards recipients. On April 13th, we had our 15th annual Career and Technical Education Spring STEM Partner Showcase, where 22 of our career and technical education students had a chance to network with Milwaukee Public School partners and showcase their projects. Our students truly did an amazing job designing and presenting their projects. If you did not have a chance to participate in this event, I invite you to join us on April 27th at the Wisconsin Center for our district-wide STEM Fair. Come see how creative and talented our students are as they amaze you with their STEM knowledge and abilities. The development of the strategic plan is going strong. We have completed 3 of the 5 community listening sessions where community members have had an opportunity to review survey data and give input towards the completion of the final plan. If you have not attended a session, join us at Manitoba School on April 27th from 5:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. or at the Central Service Building on April 29th from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. These sessions have an opportunity to be involved and have input on the development of the plan that directly impacts students. Details on listening sessions and survey data can be found on the MPS website. As summer approaches, there are many opportunities for students, for student engagement. Registration is now open for Summer Academy, Earn and Learn, and Camp Rise. Summer Academy is available to all levels with options to attend multiple sessions. Register early, and registration for some courses close as early as May 15th, with final registration ending June 5th. The Earn and Learn program is offered through Employ Milwaukee for young adults ages 14 through 24. This program provides young adults with work experience and career exposure. Employ Milwaukee also offers Camp Rise for MPS students ages 10 to 13 students will explore career opportunities and develop tools needed to become leaders in their communities. I'm excited to report that the first round of the Spelling Bee finalists is completed with the named winners in third grade, fourth grade, and fifth grade. This Saturday, our competition continues at Milwaukee Vincent High School with the Spelling Bee finalists for grades 6, 7, and 8. It will be a stiff competition, and I encourage everyone to come out and witness the resilience and determination of our young spellers. On April 18th, Milwaukee Public Schools host the Unsell World Fair, where students displayed their projects, showcasing the 193 countries represented by the United Nations. Students were joined by families, school board members, partners, and dignitarians as they made their arguments and shared their ideas on the need to end world hunger and violence and find renewable energy sources. These students are working to make a difference and impact the world, truly making us MPS proud. This evening, I close my report recognizing the outstanding participants of the Cantos de las Americas. This was a true display of talent and commitment as students performed song and dances wearing traditional cultural clothing. This was a performance well done, and also a copy of my full report you can find that's attached. Thank you, and I'm ready to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you very much. Does the any board member wish to make comments or ask questions? Director.
Just want to say that I was at the STEM Showcase and the United Nations event. If you need to see something that is extremely positive about Milwaukee Public Schools, those two events were actually amazing. I had a chance to talk to quite a few students, and in fact, yesterday I visited one of the classrooms where that was taking place for the biomedical program at Riverside. And then the United Nations, those students were able to explain exactly what everything was about with regards to what they're being taught with United Nations. And what I heard, if I heard it correctly, this program was started by our teachers and our donors in the city of Milwaukee, and I think it's the only one we have around. So it's something to be very proud of. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other board member wish to speak? Seeing none. Madam Secretary, are there any reports or communications from the Office of Board Governance?
Two communications from the Office of Board Governance. The first communication from the Office of Board Governance is action on a request to retire to closed session to confer with legal counsel relative to litigation in which the board is or is likely to become involved. The recommendation is that the board determine how it wishes to proceed with this item.
If there's no objection, this item will be deferred to the end of the meeting. No objection seen. The Madam Secretary, what's the next communication from the Office of Board Governance?
The next communication from the Office of Board Governance is the monthly legislative report on the activities affecting NPS. This is an informational item, and although it has been noticed for possible action, no action is required.
Would the Office of Board Governance please present the report?
Mr. Thiel?
Thank you, President Peterson, members of the board, Chris Thiel, Governmental Relations. Just a quick report this evening. You have the report before you, and at the state level, the Joint Finance Committee testimony process continues with more public testimony next week. We have yet to hear any details from the legislature about the state budget at this time, but we'll certainly keep the board informed as information becomes available. Happy to answer any questions if you have.
Thank you. Any questions from the board members? Comments? Thank you very much. Madam Secretary, are there any reports or communications from the Office of Accountability and Efficiency?
Yes, Mr. President, we do have one communication from the office, and that is the monthly report with possible action on the activities within the Office of Accountability and Efficiency. This is an informational item, and although it has been noticed for possible action, no action is required.
Would the Office of Accountability and Efficiency please present this report?
Thank you, Chair Peterson. Matt Chasen, Office of Accountability and Efficiency. The report is before you. I'm just going to briefly highlight that we have started our collaboration with the Office of Human Resources on doing an analysis of staff retention rates. We look forward to bringing forward that report next month.
Thank you
And happy
very
to
much.
answer any questions you might have.
Any board member have a question? Seeing none, Madam Secretary, what is the next item of business?
The next item on our agenda would be the report of the independent hearing officers of the Milwaukee Board of School Directors on student expulsions.
The chair will entertain a motion now to accept, modify, or reject the reports of the independent hearing officers of the dates and times listed in our agenda. Do I have a motion? Director Simpson,
I move that we accept the reports of the independent hearing officers.
do I have a second? Director Taylor. Oh, she seconds it. Okay, will the secretary please call the roll?
On Director Simpson's motion to accept the reports of the independent hearing officers, seconded by Vice President Taylor. Director Carr.
Abstain.
Director Gokul Gandhi.
Aye.
Director Herndon.
Aye.
Director Leonard.
Aye.
Director O'Halloran.
Aye.
Director Simpson.
Aye.
Vice President Taylor. President Peterson.
Aye.
That's 7 ayes, 1 abstention. The motion passes.
Thank you. As stated earlier, in accordance with Board Rule 1.09, there will be no reports of standing committees this month. Therefore, the board will now move on to regular items of business. Madam Secretary, what's the first item?
Item number 1 is action on the monthly personnel matters, action on the classified personnel transactions, action on the certificated appointments, action on the leaves of absence, the report on certificated resignations and classified retirements, and the affirmative action report. The recommendation is that the board approve the promotions, appointments, and leaves as listed in the attachments to this item to be effective upon board approval.
Will the administration please present the item?
President Peterson and members of the board, we are asking for your approval of the monthly personnel reporting items before you. Adria Matalini, Chief Human Resources Officer, is here with me this evening. And between the two of us, we're prepared to answer any questions that you may have in regards to this item. Thank you.
What is the pleasure of the board in terms of Director O'Halloran? I see your hand up.
I move approval of administration's recommendation for the promotions, appointments, and leaves as listed in the attachments.
Director Herndon,
Second.
are there any comments or discussion? Seeing none, Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
On Director O'Halloran's motion to approve the administration's recommendation relative to the monthly personnel matters, seconded by Director Herndon. On the motion as read, Director Carr.
Aye.
Director Gokul Gandhi.
Aye.
Director Herndon.
Aye.
Director Leonard.
Aye.
Director O'Halloran.
Aye.
Director Simpson.
Aye.
Vice President Taylor. President Peterson.
Aye.
That's 8 ayes. The motion passes.
Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item number 2, action on recommended administrative appointments, promotions, reassignments, and reclassifications, salary increases and decreases, and limited term employment contracts exceeding 60 days. The recommendation is that the board approve the promotions, appointments, and leaves, and the limited term employment contracts as listed in the attachment to this item to be effective upon board approval.
Will the administration please present?
President Peterson and members of the board, we're requesting your approval of this item as it outlines this month's administrative appointments, promotions, reclassifications, salary adjustments, and LTE contracts. Between Adria Matalini and I, we're prepared to answer any questions that you may have in regards to this item. Thank you.
Director O'Halloran,
I move approval of administration's recommendations for the promotions, appointments, leaves, and LTE contracts as listed in the attachments.
Director Leonard,
I second.
is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
On Director O'Halloran's motion is read into the record, seconded by Director Leonard. Director Carr.
Aye.
Director Gokul Gandhi.
Aye.
Director Herndon. Director Leonard.
Aye.
Director O'Halloran.
Aye.
Director Simpson.
Aye.
Vice President Taylor. President Peterson.
Aye.
That's 8 ayes. The motion passes.
Madam Secretary, what's the next item, please?
The next item is item number 3, which is action on resolution 2223R-17 by Directors Garcia and Peterson on civic engagement. The recommendation is that the board for number one, that this item be discharged from the Student Achievement and School Innovation Committee, of which it was referred during the board meeting. So you would be discharging that committee from further consideration of this item. And two, that the board determine how it wishes to proceed with resolution 2223R-17.
Okay, so do we need a motion? Director Gokul Gandhi?
I move that we discharge the item from the SASE committee and move for approval at the board meeting currently.
Do you have a second?
So the motion would be to consider the item?
Yes, for now.
Yes. So noted.
Director Taylor? Okay, so the motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion? Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
I move approval of the item.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, given that the item has not been introduced to the board yet, you might want to have the colleagues take a look at it.
I'm sorry, I take it back. What's the correct next step?
The next step would be to discharge the item from Committee on Student Achievement and School Innovation and consider the item at this meeting.
Okay, I move to discharge the item from the SASE committee and consider the item at the current board meeting.
Great idea.
So noted.
Okay, is there a second? Director Taylor? Okay, so please call the roll.
On the motion as read into the record by Director Gokul Gandhi, seconded by Director Taylor, to discharge the item from committee and consider it at tonight's meeting. Director Carr.
Aye.
Director Gokul Gandhi.
Aye.
Director Herndon.
Aye.
Director Leonard.
Aye.
Director O'Halloran.
Aye.
Director Simpson.
Aye.
Vice President Taylor. President Peterson.
Aye.
That's 8 ayes. The motion passes.
Well,
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
at this time, the administration would present on the resolution.
okay. Well, administration?
President Peterson and members of the board, on March the 23rd of 2023, Resolution 2223R-017 by Director Garcia and Peterson on civic engagement was referred to the Committee on Student Achievement and School Innovation. This evening, the administration is prepared to accept the recommendation of for adoption of this resolution as revised. At this time, I will turn it over to Jennifer Mins-Howell, the Chief Academic Officer, and together we will be able to answer any questions afterwards. Jennifer.
Resolution 2223R-0117 was given to administration upon review. There were meetings with the authors of the resolution. Revisions were made to the resolution. And tonight, administration has provided some redlined corrections to the resolution as written. Upon presentation of the item to the board, further discussion may need to be had for this resolution.
Okay. Thank you. Any other comments from the administration? Okay, let's, Madam Secretary, is there a public hearing? People want to speak?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we do have individuals who have registered to speak on this item.
Okay.
Just for clarity in the presentation, the administration is recommending the revised attached version of the resolution. Is that correct?
President Peterson and members of the board, that is correct.
Thank you.
Okay. Mario, Sotomayor,
Good evening. My name is Mario Sotomayor. Sotomayor is spelled Sotomayor. I'm here today as a proud organizer of Youth Empowered in the Struggle. To be genuine with you guys, I've never gone to a May Day before, but I've nonetheless had the privilege of organizing with these bright students for the past 8 to 9 months. My time here has taught me just how enriching a constructive yes can be. Yes aims to empower students, to give them a platform to develop their voices, and to learn the importance of organizing. It's through events like May Day that these students attain a passion or understanding of how powerful and meaningful organizing can be. To take away the ability for these students to attend such a powerful but also educational event would be backwards and counterintuitive. I urge you all to take a decision that will best align with the interests and needs of these students. Thank you for your time.
thank you very much. The next speaker will be William Pickard from Hamilton. There's a slight echo, so if you could speak slowly, that'd be good.
Okay, Hello, William. Member of that involved for last year. And today I have to take the impression of students. They're not going to know why. I want to do something. I want to change it. I want to help them. Their problem. So we're told by administration and all of this. Hey, stop doing that. Don't do that. Teachers, don't do that. Don't do that. It's constant. You know, we'll ask for better lunch, or we'll ask for more diverse lunch, or more diverse food body. So don't make demands. Stop doing that. They want to stay down. They want to ignore the issues that are coming. It's not what I'm here for. It's not what I'm supposed to do. Stuff like this happens. It's not the ability to do much about it. It's really just practicing that part. So this has been a huge issue for a while now, and this bill will help keep that consistent. Where we're not getting stopped from saying what we want to say. We're not getting stopped from organizing in a way that helps the student body.
Thank you. The next speaker is Jocelyn Wolf.
Well, I'm representing Yes Youth Empowered and Struggle. I'm from Riverside University. This May Day will actually be my first May Day, and I'm really excited. I actually have because we've planned this for months. But I'm afraid that I will be dismissed and I won't be able to go, which I don't think is really fair. This May Day is actually very educational. May Day helps students organize and speak about very important topics. I hope that this resolution will help students make it easier to organize for May Day without getting in trouble. And I hope that you guys will vote yes for Milwaukee and for our community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next person is Ari Antesesan. Sorry, Ari.
We're having a lot of feedback of the interpreters on Zoom. Is there a way the main mic could be shut off when the speakers are talking?
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Members of the board, we do have a wireless microphone in the audience that we need, and so we're just going to.
Now we're not able to hear anything.
That's not on you, that's on. Oh.
Ariane Triasian, ANTREASSIAN. First off, I'd like to thank Directors Peterson and Garcia for sponsoring this resolution. Again, my name is Ari Andreasian. I am the Youth Organizing Director at BOSIS, and I'm also here tonight as a former member of YES. As a student in YES, I developed a deep connection to my community and my environment. Organizing events like May Day have opened up my eyes to another world and have opened up my eyes to a world where we can advocate for ourselves and be agents of change in our schools and our communities. This is going to be my 8th May Day March. And I believe that students should have the right to organize their peers to actively engage in creating positive change without the fear of retaliation. And I urge you all to support this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Karina Clark. Followed by Laisha Ibarra.
Hi, my name is Karina Clark. I am a student at Riverside University High School, and I'm a member of YES. This speech is on behalf of Juliana Grants, who is also a member of YES and a student at Riverside. I do apologize for not being able to come in person, but I did really want to speak on this topic, as I feel that it is an important matter among students. Being a part of YES is about expressing yourself and demanding for change in things you believe are right, as well as it is our First Amendment right to freedom of speech and peaceful assembly. While yes, I do believe that school and education is very important to me and other students, I also believe that standing up for people whose voices have been muted by society deserve to have their voice be heard. The people of YES should help them in their fight for this. I think that May Day is a very important day to the Latino and Hispanic community. And as a Latina myself, I wish to help my family and my community in any way that I can. I don't believe we should be facing any repercussions at all from anyone regarding our right to freedom of speech and freedom to peacefully assemble. I hope that today, as our school board, you can find it easy to choose our side and fight for freedom for those in this country. Together, you can help be the change we all wish to see in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Laisha?
Hi, my name is Aisha Ishara, IBARRA. I will be reading a statement from Christine Newman Ortiz, the Executive Director of Voces de la Frontera. Dear members of the Milwaukee School Board and Superintendent, on behalf of the members of Voces de la Frontera and our Farm Youth Empowered in the Struggle, I'm writing to express our strong support for the proposed MPS resolution that recognizes both the historic importance of the May Day annual march, as well as the important role of youth activism in developing leadership, critical thinking, and connecting the history and social studies to students' own reality. The resolution also responds to a practical need to make sure that there are no incidents of retaliation that inadvertently occur towards our students or chapter advisories that organize for this annual event. Passing this resolution provides clarity to ensure that chapter advisories and students can organize without confusion or incident by improving communication. Passing the resolution is also important public affirmation that MPS supports all students, including immigrants and refugees. The May Day March has become both a national and statewide tradition in the immigrant rights movement. In Wisconsin, it has become an iconic tradition since 2007 in the wake of the national wave of mass marches and strikes earlier that year. In
because a certain administrator has a political disagreement with something that the students are expressing. Maybe it's because they feel like they have a lack of control over the situation. But so I'm supporting this resolution because I think it needs to be made clear to school-based administrators that students have the right to organize in their school. There's nothing wrong with it. It's incredibly important. I also want to remind the board administration that teachers have a right to protected and concerted activity. All workers in the schools do. And workers in the school have a right to their wind-up rights, which means that those are rights that we have.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I have one speaker request, but I'm not sure it's for this item. It's Danielle McClendon. Is that for this? Okay. Thank you.
The mic.
Yep.
Please state your name and spell your last name.
Danielle
Williams, WILLIAMS.
I'm
here today representing the tired parents, the tired teachers, the tired everyone around the world. I know you've seen the videos. When I see the teacher and the parent, the teacher and the students fighting, I see that we're all exhausted. We're reaching for low-hanging fruit, and we really need to get to the root of it. Maybe no one will care what the money went if our children was being provided for. All the people with the resources, those people out here programming with ideas on how they can better educate. I believe that they should be implemented into our schools. Kids shouldn't be running from our schools. They should be running to the schools, learning about everything. With all the personality tests and all the technology we have today, it's unfortunate that our education system cannot get it. I know they're looking for the money, but I'm not. I'm looking for the safety of everyone.
Excuse me, are you speaking to this resolution?
It all pertains to the school system. Do I have to speak to this particular item?
That's how we do them. Yes.
Oh, so none of this pertains to nothing that was in the 2-3 resolution? No? So should I just be quiet now? Oh, this is how you get down. That's why our kids, but my point here, I'm here because we're all tired. When we look at our teachers need to be paid more to have to deal with all the trauma that we're doing in our communities. We send those kids there, we barely can deal with them. How can you put them in there with our students? I'm sorry if it doesn't speak to your particular item, but it's speaking to everybody as a whole. We're not going to continue to be safe here in our communities. These children, we're tired. Our leaders should not be able to be safe. I said it. I'm tired. So yeah, no, thank you. Because how did you interrupt me when I could just say anything? That's the problem. The kids don't have a voice. You take the cell phones because y'all doing corrupt crap. We really need assistance. Yeah. And maybe it might not be from no one but our own. But just imagine not being safe, continuing to leave your job.
Just so the audience knows, this is a resolution that I'm going to read the one whereas, just one of the whereases, and then the resolve. The resolved are what sort of the action items that, so it's, whereas in the past several years, many MPS students have independently engaged in such nonpartisan activities, including but not limited to marches and rallies by students and families, participating in the annual Voces de la Frontera and the Youth Empowered to Struggle May Day marches advocating for immigrant and worker rights, Black Lives Matter marches by students from North Division, anti-violence riot rallies at Rufus King High School, climate justice protests at Milwaukee School of the Languages. Now therefore be it resolved, consistent with the district's safe haven policy protecting undocumented students and their families, the Milwaukee School Board Directors recognizes the important examples of civic engagement and publicly thanks those students, student leaders, and adults in the schools who are the club advisors. And be it further resolved that the Milwaukee Board of School Directors supports student participation in the Day Without Latinx and Immigrant Rights and upholds the right of parents, guardians to excuse their student from school for such purposes. And finally, further resolved that all school-based administrators receive guidance from the administration in a timely way so that any misunderstandings can be worked out well in advance. At this time, if committee members have comments, I would welcome them. Director O'Halloran.
First, I just wanted to check with the author that the red line version is acceptable as a substitution. I know
Yes.
that's what we're considering, but I just wanted to make sure that everyone was on the same page.
And I just read, actually what I read was a red line version.
And then I just have a comment in support. I've gone to several May Day marches with my children. I took them out of school. And I think that this provides great value to our young people to show them how to show up for their families, for their community, and agitating for, justice, I guess just for their families and community. I don't think we would penalize a student for an excused absence for like a vacation. Why I would just hope that everybody understands that it's not just an excused absence, it's of educational value. And it's a legacy that truly I learned from my mother, and I'm hoping that I'm passing it down to my children so that they know that they have this right and actually this duty to protect each other and to fight for a better world, because truly, there's a line that I love to quote: "This world won't be saved by the passive type." So, we all have to show up. And so I want to thank the authors. I know the other author is not here, and otherwise I would ask to be a co-sponsor. I don't know if you can do that if one of them isn't here, but if you would be amenable to that, I would love to be added as a co-sponsor. And I want to thank all the students who showed up to testify. And I really hope that everybody at the school level is getting the message that this isn't negotiable. Like, this is what we should be encouraging our students to do. So with that, I just wanted to provide my support and possibly move approval of the item.
Move approval. Okay. You're moving the approval of the red line item, as we say.
Yes.
Okay. Is there a second? Director Taylor seconds it. Further conversation is definitely due. Director Taylor, then Director Leonard, then Director Simpson.
Thank you, President Peterson. And I just want to thank all of the young people and the adults that came out tonight. We often make a lot of decisions, not just as board members, but as adults and parents for our young people. And I'm always saying that we need to make sure that we are involving you in those decisions. We often say those that are closest to the issue or barrier are closest to the solution. So thank you, young people, for utilizing your voice and the power to come together. And absolutely, I am in support of this. We should never be penalized for our young people utilizing our voice. We teach them that in education and tell them to uphold it. And the very time that they do it, we shouldn't use that as a circumstance to blight them. So hopefully every board member will be in appreciation of this, and every administration. We often say that is the voice of the unvoiced, right? To march and to protest. So thank you. I've definitely been a May Day as well myself. And I know we can add on as a co-sponsor now, just not before. So I would like to be added with unanimous consent as a co-sponsor. Thank you.
Okay. Director Leonard.
So I want to make this part really clear. And I've been to a number of protests and May Days, a whole bunch of things, and I will have to agree with what Mr. Fleisner said, is that sometimes what happens is the message here is one, And then the actions, not the message, but the actions at some schools doesn't follow through on it. We can't have that happen. We are the board, we're making a decision, this is all agreed upon. So we need to make sure that they understand that. I know that that's happened, it's happened to me, it's happened to others. There is no, we're not asking for anybody to actively support what we're doing, but we are asking you not to step in the way of it or impede it in any way at all. So I just want to make that really abundantly clear. Thank you.
Dr. Simpson.
Yeah, so first of all, just also wanted to thank the students for your voice and your activism. You've made some really big inroads in the last couple of years into board actions. So I really appreciate that. I want to thank you for your work on making this happen. I want to thank the authors of this resolution for the work that they did in bringing it to the board. I just want to echo as well what Director Leonard said, that there should never be retaliation for activism on the part of our students and our teachers. And we want to make sure that, this is sort of like what we want our students to become, informed, engaged members of our community. And you are clearly demonstrating, that you're ready to take on those roles of leadership in your community. So thank you very much for that. That's it.
Any other comments? Director Herndon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I firmly believe in activism, and I commend all of you. Thanks, Director Peterson and the co-sponsors. I would venture to say all of us are willing to co-sponsor this. We've all been believers and activists, believing in our voices being used. We do it almost daily, I think, at the state level right now. So you're to be commended for being here tonight. Thanks, everyone. And I fully support this.
Any other comments? Seeing no more discussion, Madam Secretary, could you call the roll?
O'Halloran's motion, seconded by Vice President Taylor, to approve Resolution 2223R-17 by Directors Garcia and Peterson on civic engagement as outlined in the attachment, the revised attachment to this item. On the motion as read, Director Carr.
Aye.
Director Gokul Gandhi.
Aye.
Director Herndon.
Aye.
Director Leonard.
Aye.
Director O'Halloran.
Aye.
Director Simpson.
Aye.
Vice President Taylor.
Aye.
President Peterson.
Aye.
That's 8 ayes. The motion passes.
Madam Secretary, yes. Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item 4, which is action on Resolution 2223R-18 by Directors Peterson and Herndon on creation of a deaf and hard of hearing task force. The recommendation on this resolution is that the board discharge the Committee on Student Achievement and School Innovation from further consideration of this item, and 2, approve the resolution by Directors Peterson and Herndon on the creation of a deaf and hard of hearing task force as amended, with an update to be brought back to the board in June of 2023 as outlined in the amended attachment.
So I need a motion to discharge. Director Gokul Gandhi.
I'm gonna do it right this time. Okay. I move that we discharge the committee and consider the item tonight.
So noted.
Director Carr,
Second.
thank you very much. Any discussion? Director, please call the roll on that.
On the motion as read
Yes.
into the record
Yes.
by Director Gokul Gandhi,
Yes.
on Resolution 2223R-18, seconded by Director Carr. Director Carr?
Aye.
Director Gokul Gandhi?
Aye.
Director Herndon? Aye. Director Leonard?
Aye.
Director O'Halloran?
Aye.
Director Simpson?
Aye.
Vice President Taylor? President Peterson?
Aye.
That's 8 ayes. The motion passes.
Okay, now I know that Director Herndon was one of the co-sponsors of this resolution. Do you want to make any comments, Director Herndon? Go right ahead.
Thank you very much. this is something that is dear to my heart also. The main school that we have for the students that are hard of hearing is in my district as well. I've been working over the time that I've been on the board to get some things done. And I want to make sure that those things are incorporated as we move forward with the task force. One of them is overcrowding in the school, the students not having enough space. The other one is the fact that once students graduate from 8th grade, they don't get the necessary services that they've been experiencing at the School of Sign Languages. So I'm happy to see this tonight. I'm certainly happy to vote on it. And I look forward to getting these items corrected as needed. Thank you.
I know, do we have any speakers who wish to speak?
Yes, we do have individuals who have registered to speak on this item.
Is it okay if we have the speakers first? Thank you very much. The first one is Laylee McLaughlin, excuse me.
Hello, it's McLaughlin. Laylee McLaughlin, McLaughlin. I'd just like to introduce you to a word. That's a very important word that I feel like is overlooked. Autism. And what does that mean? It means that a hearing person thinks that a deaf person is lacking. It thinks that they are broken, that they are less than, and it might not be perceived by that hearing person that they are better or above the deaf person. But it is, because that hearing person has a institutionalized problem in with our, it has an audit approach to deaf education. Woo, there I am. Hello. Students are segregated on how well they fit into the hearing world. So the ones that can assimilate are missing out on native language, rich deaf culture, hard of hearing culture, and they're deprived of a strong identity. The ones who can't assimilate are disserviced, linguistically oppressed, and deprived of a strong identity. So you see how this is a holistic problem. I just want to say April is Deaf History Month. So currently we are celebrating years of wonderful culture. And I want to say that in 1880, there was this massive multi-country conference of deaf educators. We call it the Milan Conference. It has a big long name, but shortened to Milan Conference. And at this conference, it was decided that sign language was inferior and that an oral approach is the way to go. And to tell you, there was one deaf person at this event. And so 150 years, almost 150 years later, we're still reeling in this struggle. We're still trying to get access to native language, L1 for our kids. And I just want to say that as we move forward, we want to keep this history in mind. So I would like to make sure that when we have this task force and we're bringing our program into modern times, that the higher ups do defer to the experts who are actual deaf people and people with deaf heart. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Lauren Dombeck.
Hello, I'm Lauren Dombeck, Dombeck. I am currently a teacher of the deaf and hard of hearing at MSLS. Of primary concern is that Milwaukee Public Schools continues to utilize a deaf education model that originated decades ago. It dismisses the concern of the professional staff and ignores data that generates better outcomes for students. Currently, DHH students attend either a school that utilizes sign language or one that focuses solely on oral training. This results in excessive student transfers as neither program meets their holistic language needs.
This also causes them to miss out on years of crucial language and identity development. Also of concern is the administrative composition of our current model. Having a comprehensive understanding of the deaf community, deaf culture, and American Sign Language is vital, and we're lacking in all three. More concerning is the lack of recognition for how critical exposure and access is for this population. Embedding deaf professionals throughout all facets of the program, from administrators to educators and paraprofessionals, is imperative. The current administration has pushed for higher caseloads, has ignored educators' pleas for change, and has purposefully misinformed families. Due to the current administration's sweep under the rug, or this is just how it's done policies, families and educators have felt forced to leave the district and in some cases taken legal action against the district. Staffing, budgets, and admin agendas have all come before student needs. I also ask the board to recognize it is the approach, decisions, and authority afforded to the existing administration that has created the challenges we are facing today. A key component for this proposal is to execute the changes with direct board connection and oversight. In order to save our program, we need the board's help. I'm asking the board to put our students first, and I'm asking the board to put deaf people first. Thank you.
The next speaker is Lynn Dalu Fox Wheeler.
If I stand on the other side, that way I can see you all.
Sure, yes. Just a minute.
This is good. Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm Linda Lou Fox, F-O-X, Wheeler, W-H-E-E-L-E-R. I recommend we please support this task force. There are many challenges for those who are deaf and hard of hearing and their children in our district. When this includes special ed, specialists, and DHH educators. I'm a deaf and hard of hearing teacher, and I've been for 26 years. I've observed a common issue in DHH education. This is the lack of opportunities for incidental learning. The concept of the least restrictive environment, LRE, is not effectively providing adequate education for our deaf and hard of hearing students. The general classroom environment is often noisy, with behavior disruptions and language barriers. And this hinders the learning experience for deaf and hard of hearing students. As a result, deaf and hard of hearing students become frustrated and can experience emotional as well as mental impacts. They need an environment that provides valuable education and promotes language models. Unfortunately, this is not happening currently. The special education department that specializes in deaf hard of hearing education at MPS needs to be reevaluated and reframed. They have not provided adequate professional development, nor kept up with updates in deaf and hard of hearing education to share with teachers. It is crucial that we work towards creating an inclusive and effective learning environment for deaf and hard of hearing students. A task force will bring together stakeholders, including at least one teacher, one parent, one board member, and a community member to assess the current state of deaf and hard of hearing education, identify challenges, develop solutions, and implement effective strategies to ensure that our deaf and hard of hearing students have the opportunity to thrive. Thank you.
The next speaker is Melanie Owens.
Hi, my name is Melanie Owens, Owens, and I'm speaking on behalf of Lori Gull, who cannot be here tonight. My name is Lori Gull. I am a former special education teacher, having worked for both Chicago and Milwaukee Public Schools. My two older children attended MPS schools from K-3 to 8th grade. I am here today to speak about why we pulled our son, Felix Rodriguez, who was deaf, and his primary language is ASL. The main reasons we left MPS and MSLS in particular were poor leadership, a lack of awareness or interest in deaf culture, as well as a lack of interest in pursuing best practices in deaf education. Felix had an amazing teacher his first 2 years at MSLS, but after that time, it was clear the DHH program was a poorly run program inside of a poorly run school. I have never saw anyone outside of the DHH program use sign language when I was there. A very few of the teachers knew American Sign Language, so the only way my child would be able to learn was through an interpreter. We are so grateful for the many wonderful interpreters that have helped Felix thrive, but we knew he shouldn't always have to rely on interpreting, especially at a school for deaf children. There also were times when either the teachers or administrators forgot to schedule an interpreter, so Felix would show up to his mainstream class and be asked to leave because they didn't have anyone who knew ASL. For this kind of exclusionary behavior to happen at a school that presents as a school for deaf children was just unacceptable. Any concerns that I brought to administration or central office were repeatedly ignored. COVID made the cracks in an already broken school and district glaringly obvious. I hadn't been confident that my son's needs were being met pre-COVID, but once I saw how poorly they were handling virtual learning, we pulled Felix out of MSLS and homeschooled him with the help of privately paid tutors until Wisconsin School for the Deaf in Delavan, Wisconsin reopened for in-person learning, and he has been attending there ever since. Driving our 8-year-old son 55 miles each way to school is not ideal, but we see it as our only option to provide him a quality education where he can learn and thrive as a smart, funny, social deaf kid who deserves to feel like he's welcomed and wanted at the school. My son is getting a great education at WSD, and our MPS story is over. We won't be back, but I wanted you to get a glimpse of what he went through. There are so many deaf students whose needs are not being met, but their parents can't leave MPS, and they shouldn't have to. They all deserve better than what is currently being provided, and I implore you to listen to the many dedicated individuals who are trying to reform deaf education in Milwaukee.
Thank you. Next is Sue Andres.
Believe I'm addressing this shit again. It's been over 40 years when this first happened. My daughter is profoundly deaf. I had to fight to get her into a K-4 class to be included. Oh, you want my name?
Yes, please.
You should know it.
I do. I do.
Sue
I do.
Endress, Endress. I know
Thank
it's been a
you.
while since I've been in here.
No,
but
I
I
still
support
know
this
you.
street, You know.
Thank you.
Okay, I had to fight to get her included into a K-4 class. I had to fight to get her speech and language services at age 3 because I was told we don't start that until they're 6 years old. I was told she would never get past 3rd grade reading level. And after she was included every year after that. My daughter has a master's degree in social work and is your district's special social worker for the deaf and hard of hearing program. My goal when she was young was just to push language into her life. I didn't care if it was oral or sign. I just wanted my daughter to be able to tell me, what did she want for supper? Where did it hurt? What colored dress was she going to wear that day? I just wanted language in her. The fact that I just heard tonight I can't believe this, that the sign language kids are separated from the oral kids. They're all deaf and hard of hearing. They need to support each other. You know, I can't, that's discrimination. You know, so many of our MPS students are not exposed to signs at early ages. Signs supplements spoken language. Give the kids more opportunities to learn and use language. No one should have to go through what I did 40 years ago, and apparently they are. And that makes me really sad, because I wonder what I did 40 years of advocacy for, other than the fact I have my daughter employed by MPS. That was good. All right.
Thank you very much. And the last speaker is Megan Kenyon.
That's her.
Hello, my name is Megan Kenyon, Kenyon. I am an MPS parent, a product of MPS's DHH program, and an MPS school social worker. And tonight I'm going to speak as an MPS school social worker. I support this resolution 2223R018. One of my duties includes being on the initial evaluation team for deaf and hard of hearing youth entering K3 and K4 here at MPS. There have been multiple times where I have disagreed with the team's school placement decision. The team continues the ancient beliefs to determine placements by looking at the child's degree of hearing loss and if the child has any benefit from hearing assistive devices, rather than looking at the child's whole personality and the family's wants and wishes. If the family wants a signing program and the team disagrees, then they either must enroll in an oral program or not get special education services at all. The team also does not always give families all the information about what our district offers. Sometimes they only get information about the signing program, and sometimes it's only about the oral program. Also, I disagree with the team's approach of wait and see, quote unquote. This wait and see approach is to see if the student benefits from oral training. And if they do not see any success, the student is transferred then to a signing program. According to the data as far back as 2009, 15 students transferred from the oral program to the signing program. These students were labeled as not thriving. The average grade of transfer was between 3rd and 4th grade. Many of those students struggle for years before they finally show progress. These children have missed the critical window for language development. Parents are disheartened to find out their kids are not thriving in school. Many parents feel misled and overwhelmed, and we are failing our MPS families. It should be noted here, there have been no transfers from the sign language program to the oral program except for 2 students who decided to return back to the oral program. The DHH task force needs to reevaluate the process of entry of deaf and hard of hearing students into the K3 and K4 DHH program. The wait and see approach is not effective. We owe it to our families and students to utilize the current practices for deaf education. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Members of the board, comments or questions, or administration? I'll have you first. I'm sorry.
Chair Peterson and members of the board, on March 23rd of 2023, Resolution 2223R-018 by Director Herndon and Peterson on the creation of a deaf and hard of hearing task force was referred to the Committee on Student Achievement and School Innovation. This evening, the administration is prepared to accept this resolution with the recommendations revisions as attached in this item. I have Mr. Travis Pinter, Director of Specialized Services, and together we're prepared to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you. And Travis, go ahead.
Go ahead.
President Peterson, members of the board, Travis Pinter, Senior Director of Specialized Services. Happy to be here tonight in support of this. The changes you'll see on there were minor to the language at the beginning, and otherwise, as Dr. Posey just said, we're in favor of moving ahead with forming a task force. Thank you.
Director Gokul Gandhi.
Oftentimes we celebrate, right, that in MPS we are embracing so many students with different needs, but that can't be it, right? We have to move past that and make sure. A lot of you talked about children thriving and providing them the right services. And so I'm sorry that you had to come here again after years and years of advocacy. I'm hoping we can bring this back to our SASE committee as a regular item. And I just want to say, both my parents were raised in India with polio, and it was making me emotional because our kids are so lucky to have you. My parents didn't have a supportive group like yours to come forward and help them. And so I hope that we could do everything to help your kids thrive. So thank you so much.
Director Simpson, and then Director Leonard. Okay, Director Taylor.
Thank you. Skipping over me the last night. No, I just want to say thank you all for bringing this forward. We don't often talk about a lot, but I have a niece that is hard of hearing. And I just love the way that our family has always ensured her inclusiveness with activities and things that we are doing. A lot of times, as I hear the parents speaking and some of the students, a lot of times when we look at people that may be different or have different things going on, we don't want to treat them differently because at the end of the day, they're all human. So thank you for bringing this forward. And I look forward to the changes that are going to be made because of this resolution, and for those families and individuals that they can call NPS home. For the ones that left, hopefully after we enhance it, they'll come back home to a better and brighter environment for their individual babies. Thank you, President Peterson.
Dr. Simpson.
Yeah, thank you very much to the speakers who came forward tonight. I first was immersed in this division and this world of separation and struggling over the way our students hear and receive language as a teacher when I started in the district in 1984. So clearly this is a long overdue review. So thank you very much, Director Peterson and Herndon, for bringing this forward. But seeing the effect that it had on families who were placed in those difficult decision-making positions, and then the fallout that it had on the students and their ability to thrive in a classroom just always was very perplexing. And so I always felt like there has to be a better way to do this. So thank you for having the foresight to bring this forward. And if it's acceptable, I would like to co-sponsor, if that's okay.
Sure.
Right, thank you very much. Yeah, and I really look forward to the work that this task force does. I'll be interested in seeing who's all on that on the task force, and also the updates that would come before the SASE committee on it. So I hope we hear back soon and regularly. Thank you.
Just for the record, the resolution does call for the administration and other members of the task force to report back to the board during the June 2023 board cycle as to the composition of the task force and with a proposed timeline for completion of the review. Director Henner.
So this one's personal. My grandson is deaf and hard of hearing, and I can attest to some of the things that you're saying. He has some hearing, so it adds a little bit of confusion to the issue. But I would have to say that I'm going to IEP meetings for him with my daughter, et cetera, over a long period of years. There is a lack of, how can I say it, aggressiveness in making this work. That actually this population of people have extreme capacity and potential. And what I fear the most for my grandson and others is that they're not going to get the opportunities to reach that capacity. It happens in schools. It has to happen there. So just that you know, you'll always get my support. I also, and I'm not asking you to do this right now, but I would like to actually get a little bit of more in-depth understanding of what exactly you are talking about when it refers to, I'm sorry, I just need someone to get back to me, okay? I have a lot of questions, but I'm not gonna do this right here. Thank you.
Any other comments from the board? Seeing no further comments, do we have a motion? We don't. Well, then Director Taylor.
I'll make a motion, move approval of the item, and I also ask for a co-sponsor to be added.
Okay, Director Herndon seconds it. Yes.
Second.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, Madam Secretary, please call the roll. Certainly.
Motion seconded by
Director Herndon.
Director Herndon with Directors Simpson and Taylor to co-sponsor the resolution. On the motion to approve the resolution as outlined in the attachment to this item.
Right.
Director Carr,
Aye.
Director Gokul Gandhi,
Aye.
Director Herndon. Director Leonard,
Aye.
Director O'Halloran,
Aye.
Director Simpson,
Aye.
Vice President Taylor.
Aye.
President Peterson.
Aye.
That's 8 ayes, the motion passes.
Perhaps we can wait for a few minutes while the audience clears. Just.
Mr.
What? Okay. Okay. I want to thank the interpreters. Thank you very much, and the teachers who have arranged this, an interpreter. So thank you. Okay, Madam Secretary, what's the next item?
The next item is item number 5, action on resolution 2223R-19 to establish a green revolving fund. The recommendation is that the board discharge the Committee of Accountability, Finance, and Personnel from further consideration of this item and approve the resolution with a report to be brought back to the board in June 2023.
Do I have a motion to discharge? Director Gokul Gandhi.
Okay, voluntold, I move to discharge the item from committee and consider it tonight here at this meeting.
So noted.
Do we have a second? Director Simpson,
I second.
please take the roll.
On Director Gokul Gandhi's motion to discharge the Committee on Accountability, Finance, and Personnel from further consideration of this item and to consider this item tonight, seconded by Director Simpson. On the motion as read, Director Carr?
Aye.
Director Gokul Gandhi?
Aye.
Director Herndon? Director Leonard?
Aye.
Director O'Halloran?
Aye.
Director Simpson?
Aye.
Vice President Taylor?
Aye.
President Peterson?
Aye,
That's 8 ayes, the motion passes.
thank you. Now we will move to the conversation about the actual resolution. Administration, would you like to start?
President Peterson and members of the board, on March 23rd of 2023, Resolution 2223R-019 by Director Peterson to establish a green revolving fund was referred to the Committee on Accountability, Finance, and Personnel. This evening, the administration is prepared to accept this resolution. I have with me this evening Mr. Sean Kane, Senior Director of Facilities and Maintenance Services, as well as Martha Kreitzman, Chief Financial Officer. And between the three of us, we're prepared to answer any questions that you may have in regards to this item.
Okay, why don't we start with the one speaker one person who was asked to speak, Justin Hagerty. I'm sorry, Justin.
Thank you. Justin Hegarty, Hegarty. I am the Executive Director of the nonprofit Reflow. I'm also an environmental engineer and a father of a MPS student. Over the past 8 years, we've partnered with the district on 21 completed schoolyard redevelopment projects, with 5 planned for construction this summer and 10 more planned over the next 2 years. These 36 projects have been in close partnership with the Department of Facilities and Maintenance Services and the Grants Department, and will have raised over $25 million, have planted over 3,500 trees, removed over 860,000 square feet of asphalt, and will have impacted over 13,000 students every day. Additionally, these projects save the district money by reducing utility fees. To date, the estimate for this type of cost avoidance is over $100,000 a year. The Green Revolving Fund would direct these annual cost savings to support student and community-based sustainability projects across the district that can return social, economic, and environmental benefits to the district. The strategic use of this Green Revolving Fund with annual board review and approval would help incentivize interdepartmental sustainability projects to help meet the growing climate crisis while providing meaningful opportunities for students, staff, and communities. Thank you for your support of this resolution.
Thank you very much. And I just want to point out to people that the project suggests that we start with a pilot, and I'll leave it at that. Administration, would you like to make any more comments?
President Peterson, members of the board, Sean Kane, Senior Director, Facilities Maintenance Services. As kind of discussed with Dr. Posley, we're definitely in support of this Green Revolving Fund. Just recently, I know working with Martha on things that she shared, for instance, that Governor Evers, they're pursuing, something at a state level, trying to work out, things to get things at that level and down to the local government agencies, but we were in definite support.
Any comments from the board? Director Gokul Gandhi.
I move approval.
Do I have a second? Director O'Halloran.
I second.
Any more conversation you'd like to be had? Director Herndon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I wanted to make sure that I was a co-sponsor on this. This resolution is in conjunction with several others that Director Peterson and I have currently in play. One of them being the IPCC, which is the intergovernmental effort so that we work together at the MPS level, the city level, the county level, the state level. So Director Peterson, you're going to be around to help us push that through. That's a big push that we got started. This goes along with it, and then we have the other one. So there's a lot of work to be done in this area, but the opportunity is there for the IPCC, for us to get grant funding. And that is the ultimate thing that we've got to get done, is to get a good grant writer to write the grant so that we don't have to make that financial investment out of our direct budget. That would hopefully cover some of the building reconstruction, the air conditioning, all of those type of things. It's a big push, but we're up for it. And we're gonna fight to make that happen. So thank you.
You're welcome. Any other conversation? Any other questions or comments? Okay, I guess we'll go to a vote. Please call the roll, Madam Secretary.
On Director Gokul Gandhi's motion to approve Resolution 2223R-19, seconded by Director O'Halloran, and adding Director Herndon as a co-sponsor. On the motion as read into the record, Director Carr?
Aye.
Director Gandhi?
Aye.
Director Herndon?
Aye.
Director Leonard?
Aye.
Director O'Halloran?
Aye.
Director Simpson?
Aye.
Vice President Taylor?
Aye.
President Peterson?
Aye.
That's 8 ayes. The motion passes.
Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item 6, which is action on monthly finance matters, authorization to make purchases, the report on change orders in excess of $25,000, acceptance of the reports of the revenues and expenses, the monthly expenditure control report, the report on budget transfers, the report on contracts under $50,000 and their cumulative totals, and the acceptance of donations. The recommendation is that the board, 1, authorize the purchases, and 2, accept the donations as listed in the attachments to this item with the appropriate acknowledgements to be made on behalf of the board.
Will the administration please present this item?
President Peterson and members of the board, this evening, we're asking for your approval on the monthly finance matter before you. Janina Dumchak, Director of Procurement and Risk Management, is here with me, and between the two of us, we're prepared to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Okay, I have 4 people scheduled to speak. First one is Beverly Hamilton Williams.
Beverly Williams, Williams. The Office of Accountability and Efficiency's purpose is to enhance transparency and oversight of MPS operations, but it seems that this is not happening. We find it abhorrent that funds were stolen from Black and Hispanic paraprofessionals in MPS with a fraudulent teacher preparation program. That only $79,000, according to your budget, was spent on student services with a $2.1 billion budget during the pandemic. False promises of mental health services to students by removing the MPD in the TAPS program. And this especially goes to one board member who did that, Ms. Taylor, who took away the MPD. Misallocated funds kept in MPS bank accounts while forcing taxpayers to overcome budget shortfalls from the state with property tax increases on top of the $87 million tax referendum. Yes, I know about it. Money spent on construction that we are not seeing done, and ignoring our concerns with closed board meetings and the inability to ask questions about our concerns. We need a community dashboard with visuals instead of meaningless, elaborate, colorful budgets and promises. The buck stops here with our watchdog group, Community Takeover. And we have not forgotten you all allowing DeShonda Bailey to be beaten behind
Mr. Chair,
MPS
this is
by the police that
not-
was initiated by you.
Not on topic, sorry, ma'am.
May not be on topic, but I'll let you know. You should be ashamed of yourself.
I just want to remind the speakers, you need to speak to the item that we're discussing. So Amanda Hanson.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
The next.
Yeah,
speaker.
please. Last warning. Go ahead. Please speak to the item.
Please state your name, spell your last name for the record.
Amanda Hanson, Hanson.
Thank you.
While we speak of accountability and efficiency, I'd like to point out truths that show just how hypocritical this district is. $508 million sits in the bank from COVID grants. What are you waiting on to spend it? The kids of the district need resources. We have schools all over the north side with no elevators or handicapped accessibility, turning away children that may be at a grade level on the second floor. Flood damage, mold, no air conditioning. Our children are fed meals comparable to Nutriloaf at the county jail whole. Your kitchens were just cited by the health department yesterday, North Division being shut down completely. Yet you guys gave Henry Leonard 7.1 million to expand Fairview on the south side, saying it's overcrowded. No, it isn't. I've been in that school frequently. This was following him being threatened with phone confiscation by this exact same board if he spoke to me about what happened to my son. Schools are operating as Title
Excuse me. Yes, I'm sorry.
It's not, it's about funding.
You won't let her talk. Really? I heard the lady say HIV. We heard her.
By the way, Henry still called me and I reported it.
Yeah, please, people who are yelling, please remove them.
We are all hiring a legal coming to fill us out because we're discussing money that was stolen by the city. But they allowed someone to come here. Not do it. Chair, would you like to stop moving?
Okay. Okay, the next speaker, Sheila Tompkins, please speak.
Saying that it's HIV, do you want to put us out? Because we're telling the truth, my child still in line for the district. Give me a break.
Sheila? And please speak to the item.
Please state your name, spell your last name for the record. Thank you.
Do I need to turn this around?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
First name is Sheila, Shelia. Last name Tompkins, Thompkins.
Thank you.
We're talking about the budget and what our kids need, correct? Well, mental health. I'd like to have a full audit on your consultants that you use. A full audit on your recreational department. Because those funds are not being put back into those schools at all. Mr. Posley,
Please just talk to me,
Dr.
Vice Chair.
Peterson,
Yes, thank you.
Taylor, Carr, Miss Ann, Hinder.
Please.
My
just-
apologies.
that's okay. Just go ahead.
I'm a parent first. And what I see the budget doing is not budgeting to help our children in MPS, nor the parents, the staff, none of that. All the crime involves this budget that y'all are missing and misrepresenting. I can't say too much because each one of y'all are parents and you truly see what's going on in your budget. And it's shameful. I seen you work things out with your deaf, and that's good because I know ASL too, and it's needed. And you kicked out Amanda on a budget, and Miss Williams, and everyone else here in the back of me. This budget that y'all want to commit about and talk about, we shouldn't have to do that because we see everything that's going on right now. But I understand the policies and the politics. I really do. I really do. And it's shameful. That's all I have to say, Dr. Posley. And this is directly to you. You have to go.
Excuse me.
You have to go on a budget.
Excuse me. For the listening audiences, people should know there'll be hearings on the budget in May. And that will be the time when it's appropriate to speak about different issues in the budget. We have one last speaker, Deborah Keith. Please keep your comments towards the topic.
Hi, Deborah Keither, Kuether. And I am talking specifically about budget transfers and reports of revenue expenses as presented by the Office of Accountability and Efficiency, who has been by this board numerous times presenting legal findings where you have failed to act. So all of these wonderful proclamations you do for one another and the people that are presenting to you about programming that should have been in place many, many years ago, what will be different this time? You can't just write a resolution, 3 resolutions every time you have a board meeting and not do anything about it. You ignore your own policy and law.
Please speak to the issue.
Okay.
and topic.
And this board has spent unprecedented amounts of taxpayer funds on legal defense when your own city attorney and legal lawyers have urged you to adjust.
Sorry, ma'am. but this
You have
is
failed.
not-
The Baker
this is
Tilly
not on
report
topic.
has shown significant
Please.
material weakness in financial matters. You canceled the taxpayer referendum by failing to keep funds in the appropriate category. If you don't like that I'm saying them, they are related to the topic. They are related to the topic. If you don't like them, they are related.
Madam Secretary, what we're looking. Madam Secretary, what is the next item? We have to.
The next item is item number 7. Oh, I'm sorry. Mr.
Okay.
Chair, the board would need to act
Yes.
on the item that is before you,
Yes.
which is item number 6, action on monthly finance matters.
Director O'Halloran.
I move approval of administration's recommendation to authorize the purchases and accept the donations as listed in the attachments with appropriate acknowledgements to the donors.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Director Gokul Gandhi.
Second.
Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
On Director O'Halloran's motion to approve the administration's recommendation relative to the monthly finance matters, seconded by Director Gokul Gandhi. On the motion as read, Director Carr?
Aye.
Director Gokul Gandhi?
Aye.
Director Herndon?
Aye.
Director Leonard?
Aye.
Director O'Halloran?
Aye.
Director Simpson?
Aye.
Vice President Taylor?
Aye.
And President Peterson?
Aye.
That's 8 ayes, the motion passes.
Madam Secretary, what's the next item, please?
The next item is item number 7, which is action on the award of professional services contracts. The recommendation is that the board authorize the professional services contracts as set forth in the attachments to this item.
Will the administration please present the item?
President Peterson and members of the board, this evening, we're asking for your approval of the professional services contracts before you. Janine Adamczyk is here with me, and we're prepared to answer any questions that you may have in regards to this item.
Do board members wish to make any comments or ask any questions? Seeing none, I'd look for a motion to approve this item. Director O'Halloran.
I move approval of administration's recommendations as it pertains to the professional services contracts.
Director Simpson.
I'll second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, please call the roll, Madam Secretary.
On Director O'Halloran's motion, seconded by Director Simpson, to move approval of the administration's recommendation for professional services contracts. Director Carr?
Aye.
Director Gokul Gandhi?
Aye.
Director Herndon? Director Leonard?
Aye.
Director O'Halloran?
Aye.
Director Simpson?
Aye.
Vice President Taylor?
Aye.
President Peterson?
Aye.
That's 8 ayes, the motion passes.
Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item 8, action on the award of exception to bid contracts. The recommendation is that the board authorize the exception to bid contracts as set forth in the attachments to this item.
Administration, would you please present?
President Peterson and members of the board, we're asking for your approval of the monthly exception to bid contracts that are before you. We're prepared to answer any questions that you may have in regards to this item. Thank you.
Any questions or comments by the board members? Director O'Halloran.
Just one comment and then I'll make a motion. I just wanted to say I'm really excited about the Mentor Greater Milwaukee contract. One thing that I'm asked every single time I talk with students, especially like the older students, they're always looking for mentors. So thank you for your support of this program. And with that, it would be my pleasure to move approval of administration's recommendations as pertains to the exception to bid contracts.
Really, well said. Director Leonard, can you? Okay. Okay, it's been made, motion has been made and seconded. Any further conversation? Seeing none, Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
On the motion as read into the record by Director O'Halloran, seconded by Director Leonard to approve the administration's recommendation relative to the exception to bid contracts. Director Carr?
Aye.
Director Gokul Gandhi?
Aye.
Director Herndon?
Aye.
Director Leonard?
Aye.
Director O'Halloran?
Aye.
Director Simpson?
Aye.
Vice President Taylor?
Aye.
And President Peterson?
Aye.
That's 8 ayes. The motion passes.
Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item number 9, which is action on the request to waive administrative policy 3.09 parent 9 parent E and issue a contract with Cisco Eastern Wisconsin LLC. And the exception is being requested due to the term limit. The recommendation is that the board waive the policy and issue the contract as set forth in the attachment to this item.
Administration, please present the item.
President Peterson and members of the board, this evening, we're requesting your approval to waive administrative policy 3.09 as it relates to the contract with Cisco Eastern Wisconsin LLC. Janine Adamczyk and I are prepared to answer any questions that you may have in regards to this item. Thank you.
Do board members wish to make any comments or to ask any questions? Yes, Director Leonard.
I do have one question, and I hope you can answer this, but it's section 1.5 on menus talks about just the change that I guess I'm asking is because I'm working with Renee and Jessica Das from Nutrition Services. Is that this is not going to affect the way they're modifying their new menus? Their new menus are going to be and they're already utilizing them in some of the production kitchens. So I'm just curious.
Administration.
President Peterson, Director Leonard, members of the board, Janina Adamczyk, Director of Procurement and Risk Management. No, it should not impact those menus at all because we are working closely with nutrition with respect to this RFP and how we move forward.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, could I have a motion? Director Taylor.
Approval of the motion that is before us and the administration's recommendation.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Director Simpson.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll, Madam Secretary.
On Director Taylor's motion, seconded by Director Simpson to move approval of the administration's recommendation relative to the contract with Cisco Eastern Wisconsin LLC. On the motion is read. Director Carr?
Aye.
Director Gokul Gandhi?
Aye.
Director Herndon?
Aye.
Director Leonard?
Aye.
Director O'Halloran?
Aye.
Director Simpson?
Aye.
Vice President Taylor? Aye. President Peterson?
Aye.
That's 8 ayes. The motion passes.
Madam Secretary, next item.
The next item is item 10, which is action on the request to waive administrative policy 3.09 parent 9 parent E and enter into a contract with the Parent Institute for Quality Education, Inc. The recommendation is that the board waive the policy based on a continuity of service and to issue the contract as set forth in the attachment to this item.
Will the administration please present the item?
President Peterson and members of the board, this evening, we're requesting your approval to waive administrative policy 3.09 as it relates to the contract with Parent Institute for Quality Education, Inc. Janina Adamczyk is here with me, and between the two of us, we're prepared to answer any questions that you may have about this item. Thank you.
Do board members wish to make any comments or ask questions? Director Gokul Gandhi.
Just a quick comment. I asked about this and it's going to help us sort of update our systems and get things rolling. I know that the counseling department is doing a lot of this in sort of outdated systems. So just for the listening public, this is really to help get that process moving and digitize some of the items that they're working with.
Thank you. Any other comments from board members? Could I have a motion, please? Dr. Gandhi,
I move approval of the item with administration's recommendations.
Dr. Carr. Oops. Sorry about,
second.
sorry about that. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
On Director Gandhi's motion, seconded by Director Carr to waive administrative policy and enter into a contract with the Parent Institute for Quality Education. Moving approval of the administration's recommendation. Director Carr?
Aye.
Director Gandhi?
Aye.
Director Herndon?
Aye.
Director Leonard?
Aye.
Director O'Halloran?
Aye.
Director Simpson?
Aye.
Vice President Taylor?
Aye.
President Peterson?
Aye.
That's 8 ayes. The motion passes.
Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item number 11, which is action on proposed Head Start corrective action plans. The recommendation is that the board approve the Head Start corrective action plans as listed in the attachments to this item.
Will the administration please present the item?
President Peterson and members of the board, this evening, we're requesting your approval of the Head Start Corrective Action Plan as attached in this item. I have with me this evening Ms. Chrissy Washington, Manager of Early Childhood Learning, to share out on this item, along with Dr. Sappho, Senior Director of Ed Services, following which we will be more than happy to entertain any questions that you may have. Chrissy.
Good evening, President Peterson and other members of the board. I'm Chrissy Washington, the Early Learning Manager, and I am here to provide information regarding the Head Start corrective action plans that are to be submitted to the Office of Head Start via their Head Enterprise system. After conducting an on-site monitoring review of the Milwaukee Public Schools Head Start program in June of last year, the Administration for Children and Families, ACF, determined that the MPS Head Start program had 3 non-compliances with requirements of the Head Start program performance standards. The 3 areas in where the MPS Head Start program performance did not meet the regulation and policy requirements were in implementing a management system, maintaining appropriate ratios and group size, and enforcing a system of health and safety practices that ensured children were kept safe at all times. As such, a written timeline of correction and continuous program improvement for these non-compliance areas is due within 120 days of receipt of the program performance summary report, which will be May 9th, 2023. Subsequently, in December of 2022, an additional monitoring review of the MPS Head Start program was conducted. The resulting program summary released in March of 2023 found the MPS Head Start program had 3 deficiencies and 1 area of non-compliance and not meeting applicable Head Start program performance standards, laws, regulations, and policy requirements. Deficiency was found for the lack of supervision of a child while under the care of staff, discipline that refrained from maltreatment or endangering the health and safety of children, and the lack of implementing a system of ongoing program oversight, as well as a non-compliance in submitting reports in a timely manner to the regional office. As such, a written timeline of actions that reflect the correction and continuous program improvement for the deficiencies areas is due within 30 days of the receipt of the program performance summary report, which will be April 26, 2023. At that time, the Head Start corrective action plan and evidence of actions are to be submitted to the Office of Head Start and uploaded within the Head Start enterprise system. As such, both plans of action require prior approval from both the MPS Head Start Policy Council and the MPS Board of School Directors before being submitted to the Office of Head Start. As part of the process, both documents were shared with the community as well as teachers and administrators for information, background building, and input. For your review and approval, both plans to address the deficiency and non-compliance areas have been provided. It should be noted that 3 additions to the corrective action plan were added to the safety practice section after meeting with the Head Start consultant this past Friday. The 3 additional action steps reflect measures to address concerns regarding the outdoor play space, specifically the tot lot and fence enclosures for that area. The MPS Head Start program found information regarding checklists and additional training information to use when monitoring this area. Followed up with the Office of Facilities and Maintenance on work orders to either fix or check on when equipment is to be fixed, and is planning to utilize fiscal year 24 quality improvement funding to purchase age-appropriate tot lots. Finally, both plans are being reviewed again before submittal by our Head Start consultant. Additional suggestions and recommendations may warrant a revision. If that is the case, an additional meeting will be needed seeking approval from both the board and MPS Head Start Policy Council. This concludes this overview, and I'll be more than happy to address any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Okay, questions or comments by board members? Director Seamson.
I would just like to thank the entire Head Start team who's worked on this. They have put in endless hours, hard work, tons of meeting to take the concerns seriously and really address them in a very short time frame. I think that you've really picked up on some big things with, focusing on that positive environment, opening up those lines of communication, creating systems for those communications, providing oversight by creating groups where there is a lead that can go out and supervise in schools and offer suggestions. They've been, transparent in the Head Start Policy Council meetings, informing parents and community members who are there about this process as it's been ongoing. And I just want to thank all of you for your tireless work to really address these issues in a meaningful way that's significant to our district. So thank you.
Thank you. Other comments or questions? Seeing none, what's the pleasure of the board? Director Seamson.
I move approval of the, sorry, I wasn't ready with the exact language. I move approval of the 2 Head Start corrective action plans that are attached in this item.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Or maybe there's
The
3.
So are there 3? I thought there were just 2. Yeah.
Just 2. Director Taylor?
I'll second.
Okay, any further discussion? The motion has been made and seconded. Seeing none, Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
On Director Simpson's motion to approve the Head Start corrective action plans as outlined in the attachment to this item. Seconded by Director Taylor. On the motion as read, Director Carr,
Aye.
Director Gokul Gandhi,
Aye.
Director Herndon,
Aye.
Director Leonard,
Aye.
Director O'Halloran,
Aye.
Director Simpson,
Aye.
Vice President Taylor.
Aye.
President Peterson.
Aye.
That's 8 ayes. The motion passes.
Madam Secretary, what is the next item?
The next item is item number 12, which is the report of the board's delegates. The first report is that of the board's delegate to the Head Start Policy Council.
That's
Director
me.
Sim- Director Simpson.
So feel free to reach, the report is before you. Feel free to reach out with any questions or concerns you may have.
Madam Secretary, are there any items of new business or more reports first?
Yes,
Yes, I
Mr.
kinda
President, we
jumped ahead
do
of me.
have the report of the board's delegate to the library board.
Yes, Director Simpson.
That report is before you, and please feel free to reach out with any questions or concerns you have.
And other reports?
The next report is the report of the board's delegate to the District Advisory Council.
Director Leonard.
That report is before you. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me.
And the next report? Oh, I'm sorry, Director Herndon.
In terms of the CISA one, there was no meeting yet, so that's why there's no report.
Okay, thank you very much.
So noted.
Director Taylor?
And for WASB, it's actually this weekend. So
Okay. Any other reports?
Mr. President, the next report is the item number 13, which is the report of the President of the Milwaukee Board of School Directors.
That item is before you. If you have any questions, let me know. Madam Secretary, are there any items of unfinished business?
Mr. President, we have no unfinished business.
Is there any items of new business?
The board has no new business pending.
Madam Secretary, are there any communications for referral to committees?
We have no communications and we have no resolutions for this month.
Okay, Madam Secretary, what's next?
Mr. President, we are now back to the item that was previously deferred, and that is the action on the request to retire into closed session to confer with legal counsel on litigation in which the board is or is likely to become involved.
I will now entertain a motion to retire to closed session pursuant to Wisconsin Statute 19.851G, which allows a governmental body to enter into a closed session to confer with legal counsel for the governmental body who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is or is likely to become involved. Would anyone care to make the motion?
I'll motion for approval to go into closed session.
Director Taylor has made the motion. Is there a second? Director Gokul Gandhi.
Second.
The motion has been made and seconded. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
On Director Taylor's motion, seconded by Director Gokul Gandhi, on the request to retire to closed session to confer with legal counsel on litigation in which the board is or is likely to become involved. Director Carr.
Aye.
Director Gokul Gandhi.
Aye.
Director Herndon. Director Leonard.
Aye.
Director O'Halloran.
Aye.
Director Simpson.
Aye.
Vice President Taylor. President Peterson.
Aye.
That's 8 ayes. The motion passes.
At this time, the board will retire to executive session for the purpose stated previously. The board may reconvene in open session to take action on matters considered in the executive session. Otherwise, the board will adjourn from the executive session. Will the secretary please note the time?
So noted.
Yes, that's the problem.